All right, guys, we're going to be shooting a 35 caliber Airforce Airguns Texan today. We're also going to be shooting some air bolts, so stick around. We're going to have a little bit of fun and take down some soda cans here. We're going to shoot the gun a little bit more for you. These are 155 grain projectiles. You know, we've experimented with a lot of different things to shoot at with these air guns. And honestly, these little 12-ounce cans make a fun little target. For the money, go to the store and get these things on sale pretty cheap. Have some fun range time. And it smokes them too. All right. Not bad at all. Guys, welcome back. Thanks for hanging out. We're going to be having a lot of fun today. We've shot a lot of different Texans over the years on the channel. We're no stranger to the Texan. I know you guys probably aren't either. We've handled the 257s a good bit. We've dealt with the integral suppressed SS version of the Texan, as well as a standard Texan. There's even a Texan Carbine out that we're going to be having a look at some point. This is a 35 caliber Texan. Texans are also available in a 308 caliber, which is really cool. This is a 35. And so basically you're talking essentially what would be 9mm, or let's just say 356 to 358 in terms of the diameters. Basically 38 special projectile or 38 special sized round ball. 35 caliber round ball is what you'd be talking with a gun like this. But it will handle obviously heavy solids and stuff as well. Two-stage trigger, really great toggle system that's very reliable and really rugged. The Texans in their own regard are just really a wonderful air gun, and I know we've talked about them a good bit in previous videos. I want to really focus a good bit on talking a bit about these air bolts and stuff. These are the Seneca air bolts from Air Venturi, and basically these air bolts will work in any 35 caliber you know, air rifle that's set up for air bolts or whatever, any 35 cal. So if you've got something like an Ataman or a Seneca Recluse, or if you're running, and I've got a cheat sheet here because it's a lot of names to remember. If you've got a wing shot or something like that, or if you go with this barrel right here, this is a Texan barrel that is actually set up to fire air bolts. So this is a 35 caliber Texan barrel that's been cut back and set up to run these air bolts from Air Venturi. And this is actually a complete package that is sold by Pyramid Air as like the ultimate hunter's package, okay? So you can be able to shoot solids out of the standard barrel, or if you switch over to this specialized barrel here, then you can fire the air bolts. So you get like a complete package. It's like this whole thing, which is really cool, all right? So there's a lot of flexibility there in being able to shoot arrows. With these air bolts, right, you know, these right here just have little field points on them or whatever for practice tips basically. But you can put, you know, some just crazy broadheads on here if you want. And the thing about this is that these air bolts are getting out of this air gun at some ridiculous speeds. So we are going to be chronoing those later and trying to maybe kind of see what they're all about in terms of accuracy. And we're going to shoot some fun stuff with them. So stay tuned here. Let's hang out and let's find some other fun things to shoot. I am going to shoot some more solids out of the 35 caliber Texan. Between 50 and 100 yards just for fun, but we're gonna try to kind of just have fun with that quickly and then move on to the air bolts, because I think that, you know, that's what really separates this video from other Texan videos that we've done, is we really want to get to showing off these air bolts. So stay tuned for that. Let's jump out to 50 yards here, shoot a little bit, and we'll move on. Let's do it. All right, guys, we're going to take a couple of 50-yard shots just for fun. I do want to mention also something I probably forgot to talk about. We've actually shot arrows out of air guns before and shotguns before. Lots of different things. We've never really dealt with the Texan, so that'll be a first for us in terms of, you know, air bolts or arrows, whatever you want to call them. But we have done it before. You know, you can fire an arrow out of a shotgun, out of a 410 shotgun. It's not real accurate. You know, the consistency is a little bit spotty and questionable, but that is kind of an old hack that we've done before. And, you know, gotten some pretty crazy results, shot a lot of random objects. And then also, you know, we've ran a lot of other guns as well. The wing shot was one gun that we actually were able to put some arrows out of. So there are some cool options there. This is our first time with the air bolts, but now I'll tell you about these projectiles. This is a 155 grain soft lead Lee cast bullet. This is actually a projectile that's intended for 38 special revolver, if you will. But we just threw these out of a 6-cavity Lee gang mold. You know, it was the only mold that I happen to have laying around. We were able to cast up some projectiles here for the 9, and we did cull these by weight to get a nice consistent weight for some of our longer range shots. And I'll quickly, this is really the only round that we were able to test out of the Texan in terms of solids. So I'll just share that data with you real quick, very quickly before we shoot at 50, and then we'll quickly shoot at 100. So your hunting accuracy is basically like your first 3 shots off the tank, off a 3,000 PSI fill. Average of basically a 1.06 inch group at 50 yards. So inch accuracy within your first 3 shots. After that, power kind of drops off, especially with the heavier projectiles. The group opens up just because the shots land a little lower, but they're still making good power, and you're still getting good accuracy. But within 5 shots, you're getting about a 2.75 inch group on the average with the 9mm Texan. Okay, that's yielding 294 foot-pounds of energy in this 155. Now remember, 155 grain is definitely considered somewhat heavy for a 35. A lot of folks that are running the 35s are probably going to run round balls or lighter projectiles, stuff probably more in like the 115 grain range, something like that. Okay, and basically our velocity drop, the velocity dropped from 924 feet per second on a full fill down to 847 feet per second by the time it got to the 5th shot. So that's a slight decrease in velocity over a 5-shot string. So that's pretty much your accuracy data. I know it's only one projectile we were able to test due to limited time constraints, but anyway, let's shoot 50 yards, have a little bit of fun. Now, we are shooting off the bottle, and that's just obviously to keep the video rolling along so we don't have to keep stopping to fill. So we should get really good consistency shot to shot because we're shooting off the bottle. I know that's a lot of data points, guys, but I just want to, you know, I know a lot of airgun folks are really funny about data and they really want to know what these things are doing. So we try to take the time to test these things out to the best of our ability so you guys kind of see what we're seeing. All right, let's have some fun. Nice. Again, one thing I'm noticing about this 9mm Texan, I'll mention it here in a second. At least for me personally, the opening is pretty generous, and a 9mm is not exactly a small projectile by any stretch. When you get into like the real tiny projectiles, you do have to be a little bit careful how you set it in to the barrel to get it started, because you know you can easily like shift it in your hand if you're not careful, maybe insert the bullet backwards or fumble around and drop it, which I've done several times. So as you get into the smaller projectiles, wow, smoke that can. Especially with the Texan being a single shot, you know, you just have to be conscious of the fact that you are dealing with a much smaller projectile, and that your hands and everything, if you lack the fine motor skills to be able to handle small objects, that just might be the only caveat I could see there. The 9mm aren't bad though. It's a nice happy medium. The thing about the 45 caliber Texan that I like a lot is the fact that those projectiles are humongous. I mean, you get a 405 grain bullet, especially if it's dark or you're hunting at night or something like that, and you go to grab that projectile, you know when it's a huge big bore piece of lead, you know, it's hard to mistake in which direction the bullet's facing in your hand. That's the only bad thing about the smaller calibers, 308, 357, 257, is that the bullets are just physically smaller. It's just something to consider. It's not a detriment, just an observation. Very cool. All right, these are cold projectiles. We actually hand weighed all of these particular projectiles out of the Lee mold, and they dropped at pretty much right at 155.2, and they're all within about 0.2 of a grain of each other, so fairly consistent. They're not swage bullets. You know, generally the swage projectiles are going to probably give you the best accuracy, but for being just a pure lead mold or Lee mold that we just cast ourselves, not bad. And we're going to get to these air bolts in a minute. I'm going to try to kind of hurry this up. All right, I'm going to aim at the bolt there on the plate. All right, let's shoot a group there and just see if I can replicate. Chad collected the data on this particular gun yesterday. Of course, we all know that Chad is like Chris Kyle behind every single gun he gets behind. So, you know, Chad can't miss. I'm not talking crap. I'm just poking a little fun at Chad. He's over there. He's glaring at me. I know he hears me because he's listening to the audio. All right, let's see. I pulled that shot just a scotch to the left, but man, this sucker is really accurate. Yeah, nice and accurate. So from a hunting perspective, that 300 foot-pounds, close to 300 foot-pounds there, yeah, 294 foot-pounds of energy is a nice happy medium. You know, the Texans are definitely, the 45 Texans are making some really wicked energy, which for a lot of folks, including myself, is a pretty attractive thing for big game hunting. You know, I like the idea of using air rifle for hunting, you know, deer and hogs and things, which I haven't done yet, but I want to. The 9 mil is kind of a nice sort of happy medium there, and the reason that hunter's package I told you about, the reason they're pushing that the way they are, I think, is just because it gives you some flexibility. You still got a lot of power in the 35 caliber. I mean, 300 foot-pounds is no joke out of an air rifle, but then you have the flexibility of the air bolts. So for people that want to hunt with an air bolt, that gives them some added flexibility. And you'll see in a minute, these things are moving really fast. So that's not bad. I'm not going to bore you guys with any more at 50. The thing's accurate, there's no doubt. I mean, it's a Texan, guys. Of course, it's accurate. Let's shoot a few groups at 100 yards just for fun, and then we'll install the air bolt kit and play with some air bolts. Let's do it. All right, guys, so a couple of 100-yard shots here just for some fun. These bullets are dropping probably about 6 inches or so from my observation earlier. Let me confirm that. I'm just going to peg the little plate down there. This is a 10-inch plate we're shooting at 100 yards. And these are cold projectiles again. Let's try to, we do have a little bit of wind. Maybe it'll be okay. Let's see. About an 8-inch drop, okay, on this 155. And this is a pretty heavy projectile for 35. You start getting into 155 to 158. I know there's some specialty molds that you can get like a 165 grain of 9mm projectile. They are out there. All right, just gonna try to take my time here and lob a few in. We are shooting off the bottle again, so hopefully this will give us some nice consistency that we're looking for. Hopefully. Nice triangulation down there. Probably about a 3-inch group from the looks of it. Nice. All right, one more. You know, in a lot of cases, when you're talking about projectiles that you make, like if you're casting projectiles, you know, it doesn't matter if it's a firearm or an air gun or anything that's gun related, whether you're reloading a metallic cartridge or you're talking black powder or you're talking air rifle, you know, you can cull your projectiles for weight. And one thing that you're testing for is if you've got a bullet that's a lot less weight, then chances are you've got some type of a void. And culling the projectiles out ensures that you're culling out any voids. And obviously a heavier or lighter bullet for the par of the course here being, you know, the majority of these bullets being a 155, that's going to throw your groups off a good bit. And of course our wind picked up. Let's see if it drifts the bullet over. Yeah, we got a nice wind. So look, let's see if this projectile lands further over to the left since the wind's blowing. I'm going to keep the same point of aim. Let's see if it drifts it over. Yep, maybe just a hair. Really good group though. I'm gonna go ahead and shoot a couple more just for fun. Nice, nice accuracy. Perfectly good for hunting purposes. Lots of power. Cool. Not bad at all. A couple of flyers, might have been the wind playing or maybe me pulling the trigger a bit, but pretty good little group down there. Probably about a 3-inch group, maybe less. Not bad at all for 100 yards. I'll tell you what, we're going to switch over to the air bolts and let's get down to some fun redneck science. This is going to be great. Let's do it. All right, we've got the air bolt barrel in the 35 caliber Texan. Look at that. Looks like something off of Star Wars. Nice and short, compact. The barrel basically just goes up to the end of the frame. A cap's put in place, and the arrow, you just lubricate a little bit, slide it down the barrel, you're good to go. Really cool little setup. We're gonna shoot over the chronograph and hopefully catch how fast they're moving. And we've got some hams down there and some sodas. Let's just see what kind of power this little bolt here is really generating, okay? And this is just kind of a field point. It's not really a broadhead, but let's see what happens here. All right, so this time we really are gonna shoot. It would help if I have the bottle hooked up and actually have some air in the gun. So we're gonna shoot off the tank just to keep it consistent yet again. All right, over the chrono, through the hams, nothing but net. Maybe. This is a very expensive chronograph. Hopefully I don't kill the chrono. Here we go. Whoa, what? That was 561 feet per second. All right, let me get my spider sense together and come up with a foot-pounds of energy calculation, and we'll be right back. Let's go see what science occurred down there. Well, that was interesting. 2 sodas, which, you know, that's not really a big deal. You know, soda, that's one thing. 3 hams, that's crazy. So it went clean through, like it just, like punching it with a, I don't know, some precise tool. Not even a, I mean, perfect hole right through that. I hate to waste good ham. I want to hunt something with these things. That's going to be a lot of fun. Those arrows, man, they got some power. That's really cool. Let's find something else fun to shoot here. Maybe some baffle boards or wood. I don't know what it's going to take to stop this thing, but you know what? Let's shoot at maybe some boards or pine baffle. Let's find something fun to shoot through. All right, guys, we're going to do something silly here. We've got some baffle boards set up. Let's see how many pine baffle boards we can punch through with one of these arrows here. Ooh. All right, here we go. Please go through all of them. Please go through all of them. I want to see it go through them. Here we go. What? Okay, we're gonna go see what happened here. All right, we did not get a velocity reading, but it looks like we hit those boards. So let's have a look. Okay, guys, we're not gonna look at what happened just yet. We're gonna fire one more shot because I want to see if the penetration that just occurred happens the same way twice. So you're gonna get to see this again. It's pretty crazy. Here we go. All right, now, did we get a chronograph reading? We didn't. I don't know what is going on with the ailer here, but all right, let's have a look. Well, guys, I think that you're gonna have to color me impressed on this. Guys, this is 3.75 inches of baffle. So the Army standard's only a 3/4 inch pine baffle board to cause a potentially lethal wound. I think we far exceeded that. I mean, those arrows penetrated a lot of wood right here, and that's a really interesting result. I mean, I knew it was gonna get through some of them for sure, no doubt. But that is just a crazy amount of penetration. I was really curious as to what you know, these arrows would really do. And I know that that's really by more of virtue of the way an arrow works and the way that that energy is kind of dispersed within you know, it has to do with really the shape of the arrow and the way it flies and the way that the field point is set up on this just being a real blunt tip. But still, you cannot deny the energy transfer. You know, the amount of foot-pounds that this thing's generating is pretty impressive. Good velocities. Now, we're only like maybe 15 yards away, so we're not terribly, you know, far away here. We're gonna, I tell you what, we're gonna move this stack and flip it around. We'll get some fresh boards on this side. We're gonna shoot at 50 yards and see what kind of energy we're maintaining out to 50 yards. And that's more of a, let's just say, a hunting perspective. If we were to seek some form of penetration within a game animal, unfortunately I don't have any gel to shoot today, but let's just see what kind of penetration we'll get at 50 yards and see if it matches this penetration, and what the difference is. We can kind of figure what kind of loss of power we're looking at. Let's do it. All right, guys, so we're gonna shoot a bolt out to 50 yards, and there's a couple of things that we're trying to figure out here. One is how much the arrow is potentially gonna drop, you know, at 50 yards. And then two, obviously we want to see how much we're going to get penetration wise. I mean, that first shot there was pretty dang impressive there at closer range, but 50 yards is probably closer to being more of a hunting distance that people will try to shoot these at. So let's give it a try, and yeah, this is crazy. I love it. Let's give it a try. Looks like it might have dropped about looks like about 7 or 8 inches at 50 yards to get down in there into the baffle board. So let's go see what happened there. That's pretty crazy. All right, so that's pretty crazy. At 50 yards, we ended up getting 2.25 inches of penetration. That's still a very respectable amount of penetration. Definitely more than adequate for hunting purposes. Even with a field point, this thing will punch a nice clean hole through just about anything with 4 legs. Well, we'll say 4 legs, but that's pretty crazy. You know, I'm not sure what it would do with like a broadhead, you know, or like, you know, some type of actual hunting broadhead, but I can imagine that with that energy behind it, it's definitely gonna mess some things up. I'll tell you what, for academic purposes, we've got a couple of the bolts left. I'll tell you what, we're gonna move this whole stack back to 100 yards. This is really silly. I don't even know how far this arrow is gonna drop. I don't know if it's gonna have any energy when it gets there. I don't know if we're gonna be able to hit anything, but I feel like we have to try. So let's do it. All right, guys, we're gonna try a 100-yard shot here. Okay, I lied. We've already tried a few 100-yard shots. We had a few siders. First one hit really low. Okay, the next one hit right over the top. Then we adjusted our aim down just a little bit, and we were able to get one of the arrows to connect up in the upper left-hand corner of the baffle stack, but it wasn't a really solid hit. So I'm gonna go for one more shot and hopefully get a nice solid center hit on this thing at 100 yards. The major thing we wanna really test here is the trajectory of the arrows. They drop about 4.5 feet at 100 yards, so it's a pretty considerable drop on these things. But the thing that we want to really find out is what kind of energy they've still got and what kind of penetration we can get, so hopefully we'll be able to connect. Let's give it a shot, literally. All right. All right, that sounded like a good solid hit. Right there near the bottom, that looks good. Let's go have a look. All right, guys, that was a pretty insane result. Here's our arrow that clipped the top of the baffle stack earlier, the one that we said wasn't a very solid hit. It penetrated 3 boards and then skewered out to the left, obviously. Then, you know, we went back to the drawing board. We got an arrow to hit here low, and again, penetrated 3 boards, so 2.25 inches worth of penetration, which for, you know, this baffle boards, that's pretty dang crazy. That the penetration is exactly the same at 50 yards as it is at 100. So that's really crazy to think that that arrow is still maintaining a good bit of energy even out to 100 yards. Now, the drop is pretty elliptical. I mean, I was having to aim way over the berm, you know, 4 feet high to get this arrow to go in, but it is possible, and, you know, it is pretty deadly even out to 100 yards. So that's a pretty interesting result. Guys, thank you for watching today's video. We hope you enjoyed it. We always love to get some of this crazy tech out and play with. That's insane. I would have never thought that that thing had that kind of power and that kind of energy. I mean, getting that, you know, nearly 600 feet per second worth of velocity out of these air bolts is pretty crazy. That really trumps the power on even the most powerful bow. That's pretty cool that you can really get that going. So guys, thanks for watching today's video again, very much. Thank you all for the support, and we'll see you next time. Many more videos on the way. Cool stuff.